Hello, I'm Camie, and welcome to our home. As much as I would love to be with you in person, I'm grateful we can be together in this way to talk about and celebrate living beyond cancer. Because living beyond cancer is often just as scary as when we're first diagnosed. Because now we don't always feel the support we had when we were going through treatment. And our routines are different when we don't have to plan everything around doctor appointments, treatments, surgeries. It sometimes feels like we're alone, facing this open space. Now what? What do I do? It reminds me of when I was around 7 years old and our family went to Silver Dollar City, a theme park in Missouri. My most vivid memory is when we reached the end of the funhouse, and it was my turn to enter the last room. I opened the door into nothingness. Darkness filled the room. But as my eyes adjusted, a galaxy of stars appeared, covering every possible crevice. The ceilings, the walls, the floor. Wait, there wasn't a floor. Only an unending abyss of starlit darkness. Oh, there was an exit on the other side. I have never been so frightened. My mind started racing. How am I going to get across when there's no floor? What if I take a step and fall into all that darkness? Am I going to die? Wait a minute, I thought. This is a fun house. They're not going to let anyone die in a fun house. And I could feel pressure from those waiting behind me. So I took a deep breath, lifted my foot, and slowly lowered it to what I desperately wanted to be a floor. And to my surprise and great relief, my foot was greeted by some sort of squishy flooring that was invisible to my eyes. With each step, I gained more confidence and was soon safely on the other side where I could exit. That first step into the unknown, into the beyond what my eyes could see, into the beyond what my mind was telling me. That first step into the beyond is often the most frightening and difficult. And then it gets easier. The art of living beyond cancer is also a step-by-step journey into the unknown. Because every day is a new day, and we get to create it. With every step, with every choice. Just as an artist learns new skills that help them create their unique expression of art, we learn new skills that help us create our life. The art of living beyond cancer is truly recognizing that we are all artists, creating our lives each and every day with the skills we've learned through every life experience. And for us, that includes cancer. I was diagnosed in December 2010 with stage 2 breast cancer. I had a lumpectomy, 11 lymph nodes removed, 6 rounds of chemotherapy, and 33 radiation treatments. 2 years later, in December 2012, I was diagnosed again in the same breast and had a right mastectomy, full hysterectomy, and have been on tamoxifen for 7 years. Today, I'd like to share with you some of the skills and lessons I've learned during my walk with breast cancer. The first thing I'd like to share with you is I'm a treasure hunter. I love to discover hidden things. But not hidden things out there. Hidden things in here. And I've been consciously searching for a specific treasure for over 30 years. It's not easy to find. It's me. All of me. I want to discover all of my hidden beliefs, patterns of behavior, feelings, thoughts, fears, dreams, desires, everything that makes up me. I want to know about it. I want to know who, what, and why I am. Just like the strings of a harp, every string is part of the wholeness of the instrument. Just as every aspect of me, whether I'm aware of it or not, creates the wholeness of who, what, and why I am. I'm aware that many of my old patterns of behavior and beliefs about myself stem from being adopted when I was 1 month old. I was adopted by the most loving set of parents any child could hope for. And they've always loved me unconditionally. But even so, there are layers that I've uncovered. And there are so many stories that I created in my mind, like the image of being left alone in a crib, crying in an orphanage, which I later found out wasn't true. And the questions of why. Why did my birth mother give me away? I actually found her when I was 35, and now I know the truth. She didn't want to give me away, and she did love me. Yet those stories and questions were part of me as I was growing up. They influenced the way I interacted with other people, and they influenced the way I thought about myself. Here's an example of how those stories affected my interactions with other people. If I'm nice to everyone and I take care of everyone, then they'll like me and they won't give me away and I won't be alone. I know. It's not easy to hear, but it's true. On some level, I believed that. This belief, this idea that I needed to take care of everyone, was directly connected to my feelings of worthiness. And here's that story. If I was worthy, then my birth mother would have kept me. So on some level, all my life, I've been trying to prove my worthiness to others by taking care of them, so I would be wanted and needed, thereby proving my worthiness to myself. That need to take care of others, to feel worthy of their love, followed me into my marriage. along with a lot of personal disconnection and loss of identity when I changed my name. That was such a big deal. I felt like I was letting go of everything I had created, my professional identity, my reputation. There's a lot connected to a name, and it felt weird and unsettling. And yet I wanted to take my husband's name. I love him so much. He's my best friend, soulmate, and he's also 25 years older than I am. So even in the beginning of our marriage, I was always doing everything possible to reduce the amount of stress in his life. Honestly, so he wouldn't die and leave me alone. I know, it's very twisted, but it's true. And then I disconnected from myself even more when I became a mother. I loved becoming a mom. And I didn't even realize at the time that all of my focus, all of my energy was directed to my family because I love them so much. I never thought about whether or not it was important for me to take time for me. I really had any extra time for anything other than what I was already doing anyway. When I was first diagnosed, I knew somewhere deep down that this was an opportunity for me to remember how to love myself again, just as deeply as I love my family. It sounds crazy, but on some level, I was grateful to have the excuse to slow down and just focus on me for a change. I had become so disconnected from myself. One of the life lessons I learned during my walk with cancer that helped me transform this pattern of always taking care of others was I am worthy. And it's important to take time for myself. I am worthy. And it's important to take time for myself. I needed to develop skills to help me fully integrate this life lesson, to put it into practice. Just as an artist practices new skills. The first one for me was slow down. It sounds so simple, but it's not. Especially when you're always moving, always focused on the outside, always taking care of other people. There's always something else to do. What helped me slow down initially was taking time to listen to one of my CDs, The Magic Mirror. It's only 23 minutes, and I figured I could give myself 23 minutes. In fact, this music takes me into such a deep state of relaxation that we now have an understanding in our family, in our house, because one day I was in the middle of the CD, which is the most relaxing part for me, when our son burst into the room to ask a question. So I've never been scuba diving, but I've heard there's something called the bends, which is when a diver comes up too quickly and is actually dangerous. Well, I came out of that meditation too quickly and had this terrible headache for the rest of the day. So from that point on, I announce, I'm going under, and everyone in the house knows to leave me alone. Unless the house is on fire or someone is dying. Slowing down every day gradually became easier. It's a skill that needs to be developed, practiced, repeated, just as an artist learns a new skill. Another skill was listening. Prior to my diagnosis, I really didn't take time to listen to myself, to my body. This was an opportunity for me to learn how to listen to what my body wanted and needed. If I was tired, I was learning it's okay to rest without feeling guilty. If I was hungry or craving something weird, it was okay to eat because my body wanted it. Ham salad. Don't ask me why, but ham salad tasted so good. If I had a little more energy around the third or fourth day after chemotherapy treatment, what did my body want to do? One day, I realized that my body actually wanted to move. So I cleaned the bathroom, took a walk outside, and vacuumed with my right arm. And that was the site of all of my surgeries. A few days later, I learned another lesson. Be gentle. All of my movements had resulted in some tiny muscle tears on my right side. So my new mantra became, and still is, just because I can doesn't mean I should. I was also learning to listen to myself. Slowing down and listening were two skills that really helped me start taking time for myself. And the third skill was trust. That's a big one. In order for me to take time for myself, I needed to trust that my family could take care of themselves without my help. Yes, this was definitely tied to my need to be needed in order to prove my worthiness. I had to trust that my family would be okay. And of course they were. Who knew our teenage boys could do their own laundry? And that my husband could go grocery shopping by himself? But really, it was about me trusting myself. Slowing down, listening, and trusting myself. Trusting my choices. Trusting that I knew what was best for me. It's funny because my husband and I have been in the holistic world since around the 1980s. And so many of our dear friends are massage therapists, healing touch practitioners, chiropractors, Reiki masters. They work with crystals, crystal bowls, color, light, essential oils. I had access to any type of complementary or alternative therapy that I wanted. That's why I found it interesting that when I listened to my body, I wasn't drawn to use many of them. What I was drawn to was listening to my music, changing the way I was eating. A friend had just finished macrobiotic training, and the idea of eating certain foods cooked in a certain way to maintain their nutritional value made sense to me, and my body liked it. Going for acupuncture to help keep my energy flowing and to reduce possible side effects from The treatments I was taking also made sense. And taking Chinese herbs. Oh, how I wish I could have taken the herbs in capsule form. But no, I had to cook mine on the stove and let them simmer into a tea before I drank them. This is another reason I know my family loves me unconditionally, because those root herbs smelled so bad. The whole house would stink. It smelled like cooked dirt. But that's what my body wanted. And I asked my oncologist about everything I wanted to do, and I got her approval before moving ahead. Thankfully, she knew my background and wanted to support me in the ways I wanted to support myself. And she was very honest. When I asked her about going to a salt room to help detox my body, she smiled and said, "Really? Perhaps you can wait on that one." And so I did. I was also learning how to trust my feelings. When I was sad, it was okay to feel sad. And when I was angry, it was okay to feel angry. I didn't have to be afraid of my feelings anymore. Believing that I am worthy and it's important to take time for myself was when my conscious self-care journey really began and continues today. My husband is such a wonderful support, always encouraging me to slow down and listen to myself and trust my choices. It helps when we have someone to support us. And I've actually discovered over the years that when I listen, trust, and choose what's most loving and supportive to me, everyone benefits, whether they know it or not. It can be uncomfortable at first when we start taking care of ourselves because it's different. So many of us aren't used to choosing what feels best for us. And our family isn't used to it either. What I discovered was I was actually enabling my family to stay in their comfort zone. I had to let go in order to let them grow. When I stopped doing everything and they started taking care of themselves, I could see their confidence growing. And as a mother and a wife, I want my family to feel strong, capable, and confident. Taking time for ourselves is not selfish. It's the most loving thing we can do for ourselves and for those around us. It's a skill that we develop as artists, living with and beyond cancer. Letting go of control was a big theme as my walk continued. So much was happening so quickly and on so many levels, not just for me, but for others in our family. Because as we all know, a cancer diagnosis does not just happen to the patient. It ripples out and affects everyone around us. For our family, we were very aware that my husband's mother was diagnosed with breast cancer when he was 17 years old, the same age as our oldest son at the time of my diagnosis. So my husband was not only dealing with my diagnosis, but was also reliving his experiences with his mother, who did not survive. Being compassionate with those around us and understanding that their choices are coming from a lifetime of experiences is another skill our whole family was learning together. For example, when my husband chose not to go with me to the hospital for my surgeries, I knew it was because he couldn't live those memories again with his mother. And that was okay, because I knew he loved me. And I was grateful that my mom could go with me. Sometimes people in our lives find it difficult to support us in the way we want or expect. Perhaps they simply can't, for reasons they may not understand. Chances are, those feelings are connected to something in their past. What our family learned was to be patient and understanding, because often the feelings that were being expressed in the moment were fueled by feelings from the past, finding their way back into those moments. Now, getting back to my letting go and control issues. The whirlwind that happens after a diagnosis threw me into what my husband calls production mode. I was navigating unfamiliar territory with the intensity of a mama bear. With all the tests, biopsies, surgeries, appointments, I didn't want to let go of control because I wanted to be strong for my family and friends so they wouldn't worry about me. Sound familiar? I didn't necessarily see my actions as controlling. I saw them as being responsible and loving, which is how I'm often able to justify my actions. I don't have control issues. I'm doing all of this because I'm responsible and I love you. Maybe. And maybe not. Maybe I have deep control issues because I want everyone to like me and I want them to feel safe and taken care of because I need to be needed. Yeah, just because I've recognized a pattern in my treasure hunt doesn't mean it disappears. My control issues became very apparent when one day the brakes went out on our car. Thankfully, I was able to coast into a parking lot, and I called my husband. As we were sitting there waiting for the tow truck, we started talking about all the craziness that was happening, which also included an unexpected surgery for our youngest son. It felt overwhelming. And then we just burst out laughing. It was so cathartic because there's such a fine line between laughing and crying. And the weight we were carrying and everything we were trying to control just shattered. This was the moment we realized that no matter what was happening on the outside, no matter how crazy things were, the only thing we could control was how we chose to be in every moment. How we chose to be connected to ourselves from the inside. how we chose to slow down, listen, and trust our choices. And we could choose to be swept up in all the drama. Or we could just choose to dance within every moment. This life lesson became so clear. Change is constant. So dance within the moment. Change is constant. So dance within the moment. And this one makes me smile because it helps me remember to be playful, which isn't always easy. What helps me remember that change is constant is simply looking at nature. Seeing the light of the sun change throughout the day. Watching the birds enjoy our bird feeder. And feeling the changes in the weather, the seasons. Closing my eyes and feeling my heartbeat, pumping blood throughout my entire body. Focusing on my breath and realizing that with every inhale, I'm changing. And with every exhale, I'm changing. Nothing stays the same. Everything is constantly changing. And I'm part of those cycles and seasons. I'm part of something so much bigger than what my mind wants me to think, what my mind wants me to focus on, what my mind wants me to control out of fear. Developing the skill to feel myself connected to these natural cycles and seasons makes it easier to dance within the moments. Because I know I can't control them. They're going to happen with or without me. What I can control and what I'm responsible for are my choices within those moments. Another big let go of control experience was around losing my hair. My journal entry from February 27th, 2011 pretty much says it all. As I began my nightly routine, I took out my hair clips. My head was really tender and sensitive. I gently rubbed where the clips were and was able to pull out many hairs. My heart sank as the rebel in me realized that as much as I really wanted to be the exception and be able to say, "I told you so," this was happening. I put my hand in another place on my head and gently pulled. Yep, more hair. Everyone said, "You'll know it when it's happening." But I never knew how I would know. Well, the best way I can describe it is, it's like when you reach down and pull up a patch of dry grass, and it just comes up because there's no resistance from the roots. When you pull on green, healthy grass, you have to really pull because there are roots holding it in the ground. It's like that with hair. I went and sat down next to John on the couch and cried. As much as someone prepares for something or someone to pass, it's never the same as when it actually happens. The tears surprised me because I felt so prepared. Oh yeah, that was my mind. And the mind can't truly experience the feelings until the feelings are experienced, which is what I was doing in that moment, when the tears just came flowing up and out. Earlier in the week, I was ready for my hair to go. Then each day passed, and I thought that maybe I would be different. Then I started believing that I would be different. Then I wanted to be different, which formed my attachment back to my hair. But this lesson wasn't over. As soon as I felt comfortable with keeping my hair, it's time to let go. Thank goodness I can laugh at myself and see the pattern. What a difference a day makes, an hour makes, a moment makes, and what a gift to live fully in each one. Change is always happening. That's life. And what I've learned over the years is when I try to control a situation out of fear, it constricts and tightens my whole body. And it makes me tired because it takes so much energy to maintain that illusion of control. When I remember to slow down, listen inside, and trust myself to choose what is most loving and supportive to me, I breathe more deeply, and I'm able to dance within every moment. One of the most difficult choices I had to make during my walk with breast cancer was to receive chemotherapy. For years prior to my diagnosis, I played harp in chemotherapy infusion units, and I would sit there playing beautiful music, and these thoughts would come into my mind like, how can they just sit there and let that poison be pumped into their body? Because on some level, I believed that chemotherapy was poison. I could never imagine myself doing that. And then I was. Years later, I was imagining myself doing just that. Because my wonderful oncologist had just explained why I should consider chemotherapy. There was so much cognitive dissonance happening inside of me. My beliefs and thoughts about chemotherapy being poison were in direct opposition to what my doctor was telling me I needed. How could I find that sense of balance and harmony within myself? How could I trust myself to make that choice? In my journal entry from January 19th, 2011, I wrote, realizing that nothing in this world is all good or all bad. There's a beauty and peace when the balance is recognized. I recognized that in life, death and decay must happen for new life to emerge. So I am actually thanking all my cells. And when the chemo enters, I will consciously embrace each cell that is destroyed with love and release it with gratitude, knowing that the healthy ones will return renewed. This is a deep cellular clearing that I have been preparing for all my life. And then a dear friend reminded me that the word sacrifice comes from the Latin word sacer, which means to make sacred, to make holy. I became even more grateful as I visualized my healthy cells along with the cancer cells, just sacrificing themselves while actually helping me to become more sacred within. As each new cell was reborn into my body, it would be more in alignment with my transforming beliefs and awakening self-love. In a very sacred way, chemotherapy actually accelerated my spiritual growth. The life lesson I learned during this time was a shift in belief expands perceptions and alters the experience. A shift in belief expands perceptions and alters the experience. This one was challenging because who wants to shift their beliefs? But I was caught between what I believed to be true based on my observations in the chemotherapy infusion units and what my doctor was telling me based upon her years of experience in supportive research. It was time to develop another skill. Be open to new possibilities and experiences. When I allowed myself to slow down, listen inside, and trust myself to choose what was most loving and supportive to me, I was able to step beyond my limiting beliefs and expand my perception to see beyond what the fears within my mind were telling me. Shifting my beliefs about chemotherapy helped alter my experience of receiving it into my body, as I no longer saw it as poison, but rather as a sacred part of my journey to love living my life. My beliefs about myself were also shifting, and my perceptions were expanding. I now believed that I am worthy, and it's important to take time for myself by slowing down, listening, and trusting my choices. My experience of every moment was expanding as I recognized how I was constantly changing, and it was impossible to control those changes. All I could do was be present and dance within the moment. I was developing the skills to create a beautiful life, just as an artist develops skills to create beautiful artwork. Each is an expression that comes from within. It all begins within. And I was realizing that my healing comes from within. Throughout my entire journey with breast cancer, I knew it was an opportunity to remember how to love myself again, to feel worthy of love. After one of my chemotherapy treatments, I was feeling so sick and nauseous. I completely forgot about the power of love and healing within myself, until a close friend and spiritual mentor came over to help me remember who I am. Her gentle guidance helped quiet my mind and descend back into myself, to the deepest core essence of my being. And something connected. I felt every cell of my body filling with this radiant light and love. And we both started laughing, and this sense of freedom and uncontrollable joy just filled us. And it was a windy day, so we just stood up and started dancing with the leaves. In that sublime moment, I knew my journey to love was real. And it became so clear that I am not my experiences. I have experiences, but I am not my experiences. I am so much more. And this awareness that I am not my experiences created such a feeling of freedom and joy within me. Yes, I have experiences, and I learn from them. And I know it's my responsibility to be present within every moment, to slow down, to listen, to trust myself, to continually search for those hidden treasures within me, to discover those patterns and beliefs and thoughts and feelings that are part of the wholeness of who, what, and why I am, and to embrace them all with love. And it's from this place of love that I've chosen to live my life beyond cancer, to the best of my ability. And as an artist, I continue to practice the life lessons and skills I learned during my walk with cancer. Slowing down, listening to my body, trusting myself and my choices, believing that I am worthy and it's important to take time for myself. Recognizing that change is constant. So dance within the moment. Feeling connected to the natural cycles and seasons within and around me. Being open to new possibilities and remembering that a shift in belief expands perceptions and alters the experience. I am so grateful for that young 7-year-old who stood frozen in fear, looking out into that dark, starlit abyss, not knowing how she was going to get across the room. I am so grateful she found the courage to take that first step. Thank you for taking this walk with me today. I hope your walk with and beyond cancer is one filled with peaceful moments, beauty, and love.